Hey guys, it's Fidos and I'm playing Salt and Sanctuary. I say playing because I'm playing it to show you guys kind of a few things that I want to talk about, because I'm going to review the game and tell you guys what I liked, what I didn't like, my overall impression, all of these things. I'm going to grade it from a 1 to 10 grading system at the very end. So, let's start with the bads. The negatives of the game that I didn't really like were I did have two problems with crashing. One of them actually, for some reason, got rid of my save data because I had to reinstall the game. Now, it wasn't too bad. The game's kind of small. Surprisingly enough, it's a 30-hour game that's pretty small in length, which is weird because that's not really all that short. But the game itself is a very, very nice and stellar 30 hours if you don't know what you're doing. So for first playthroughs, it's about a 30-hour game, which is pretty nice, honestly. There's a lot of trial and error in boss fights. There's a lot of kind of trying to find your way. If you've played a platforming Metroidvania game before, this is very much that, with a very big Dark Souls-like spin. The combat is another thing I wanted to talk about. Well, no. Actually, that's a good thing, so I'm going to talk about the other negative. The other negative that I want to talk about is the final boss fight. He kind of is very difficult without giving you any kind of warning that he's going to be that hard. He's a very difficult boss. He doesn't really feel all that rewarding unless you do the bad ending. So there is that. It's kind of a letdown that you have to do the bad ending. It's kind of because of the reward that you get from the bad ending, it feels like it's almost a requirement if you're going to do New Game Plus with a heavy character, because he gives you a very good reward for being a heavy character. So there is that. Well, if you pick the bad ending. But other than his difficulty and the crashes, the game has, I can do nothing but sing and praise the game for all that it does right. Now, let's start with combat. As you guys can see, combat is it can either be pretty exciting or pretty boring based on what kind of combat system you have, but, you know, it's still pretty good. The combat, and I will show it now, depending on the weapon you have anyways, you have different like skills and ways you can kind of just like show this. So with the greatsword, you've got like this kind of system where you can launch the enemy. You can also jump and just hit them. It's kind of, the greatsword is not really a super stellar weapon, but then you have like the spear, which is it has a very unique it has a very unique system of just how it works. And this is a better idea, or a better example of how this thing functions, or how combat functions, depending on your weapons. As you saw, the greatsword's kind of slow, doesn't really have too much combo potential, but this thing, I mean, you can do that. Or you can just launch up and then hit them in the air, and you have a lot of potential with like spear-type weapons. With this, I can't use that in one hand. Well, I can't really use it in two either. With the scythe, you've got, you know, that. You can attack in the air like that. It's pretty just rounded out. There isn't really a lot to it other than that, unfortunately, but this game has kept some pretty good things. For instance, I mean, look at the knives moveset. I actually use the knife is a very good weapon in this, and it's surprising because you'd never think the knife would be a good weapon, but it's a very good weapon in this. The greatsword, as you can see, is just fun as hell to use because you're launching things, you're killing things, you're massacring, you're destroying. It's you know, it's good times. Now, the other good things that I want to talk about, and the most important good thing I want to talk about when I will get to momentarily, is that the one that I want to talk about right at this moment is that the game has a very nice mechanic where if you take damage, you lose max HP. Now, I say that's a nice mechanic because it adds a lot to the game. Honestly, it really does. Though, I don't really like to play enemy handoff, because that's a mini game that I happen to play a lot, unfortunately. Though there are roll attacks in this, depending on the weapon, you do have roll attacks. Now, this is something I want to show, and I'm going to display it very carefully. Now, if you look at your max health, right of this moment, I have lost, like, max HP. But if you look at, and that is because, well, I took damage, so yeah, I lost max HP, it makes sense. But it's because I lost HP from getting hit, not from dying, not from doing anything else. I just got hit, so I lost max health. Now, I'm not entirely sure why I lost focus or why I lost stamina. It might have to do with the item they hit me with. I'm still not 100% sure about that, honestly. I wish I was, but I'm not. But throughout combat, you can lose max health, and your overall combat and kill potential can go down because, if you're not careful. So you have to really, because this is a Metroidvania game, there are some, I guess, unspoken rules that you need to follow to keep from, well, getting destroyed. Now, this game has a lot of things going for it, like the max health mechanism, which I like a lot. The stamina, like, refill mechanism, like from Dark Souls. The fact that you have, like you get healing items and flasks based on what covenant you're in, or rather your creed. Your creed it's not as important as you would think, but the healing effect can be. There's a lot of different side quests that go with your creeds. There's a lot of different things and mechanics that you can use your creed for. One of the coolest things that I want to show right now, and this doesn't have to do with my creed because I'll get back to that, but it's the Tree of Skill. You can, every time you level up, you can decide where you want to put it along whichever tree you're taking. I'm doing the sword fighter tree. It just so happened that to get down the line to my next sword fighter thing, I had to take the pikeman tree a little bit. But you need to upgrade your sword fighter tree because it determines what tier of weapon you can use. So if I want to use a +5 sword, so a level 5, then then I need to get it all the way up to that. Otherwise, I'm not going to do any damage. Now, I'm rushing it because it's more of like a, I want to do as much damage as soon as possible kind of thing. But, like, look at the size of this tree. Honestly, look at it. It's like the Final Fantasy X sphere grid. Not as big, but this is after they trimmed it down. So you have a tree system in this, and as well as having a tree system, every time you upgrade your tree, your weapon's damage will go up. Of course, makes sense. Also, your efficiency with your weapon, every time you upgrade your efficiency with that weapon, that goes up as well. Notice how before I upgraded to my level 4 swordsman skill. I was barely even going through their shield, and now I just cut straight through. So there is that. Now, with as many positives as there are, they're just going to keep coming. There is no but, there is some negatives. Nah, I've already covered the negatives. This game has so many good things to it. The level design, the jumping mechanics, basically everything about this game is just one big positive after the one before. There's no negative that I can really think of that would really be a big enough deal to keep you from playing, other than like minor things. So this game sounds like the perfect thing, and I'm sure it does, but it really does depend on taste, and I am kind of a biased person because I am a big giant fan of the Dark Souls games. If you look at my trophy list, I've platinumed all of the games. In fact, this one I just got it 3 days ago, and I'm already 81% done with the trophy list, which, you know, that kind of speaks for itself. There are 2 endings, so there's some replayability value. There's also a challenge. You can also challenge yourself by saying no healing, no shield, only naked. You can only, you can't block. Let's see. There's no armor, no blocking, so basically just take your shield off, so basically no shield. No healing, and there's a few more, and then you can also stack these up together so you can have one super run. I can't imagine how to do it. And then there's also a hardcore mode, which is even more insane. I have enough trouble in normal. Like, he added a difficulty mode to this as a challenge. And I can't imagine how I would even go about beating hardcore mode. The challenges, I would like to reiterate, though, do not count as trophies. There is no trophy that, or they do count, but there is no trophy that is directly tied to your challenges and what you've done. So there is that. So basically, there's a lot of good things about this game, and, well, I could sing the praises about this game forever and ever and ever, honestly, but I've got to stop talking at some point. So, for as many good things as there aren't very many bad things. The dungeon, the level design, even the torch mechanic of the game is nice. The combat is amazing, it's stellar. The skill tree is awing, it's so good. It's like the bosses, oh man, the bosses, they're so good. You have to use like actual mechanics and abilities that you find throughout the game to use like your brands, which you use to, I'm not sure if I covered the brands, but a short synopsis of them is that you use brands essentially like you would in like the Metroid games, like with Samus's power-ups. So you use them to get from to the areas that you can't get to early in the game. Like, let's say there's a ledge that's too far away, then I have to wait for my dash power-up so that I can dash mid-air and get to it. Stuff like that. So there is that. And there are, as I said, multiple endings, so there's a lot of replayability. Now, with everything being said, and you can take this for what it is, but with everything being said, it is time for me to grade the game. Now, after looking at everything, the music, the graphics, the combat, how well it runs, the boss, the story, all of that, which, you know, all of there's so much more to this game than I've been able to say, and there's more than I'll ever be able to say, but I've said what I can. With all of that considered, I've got to give this game at least a 9.5. If the graphic, or if the, well, let me rephrase. If the final boss and the crashes get fixed, it'll be a perfect 10. But until then, I'll have to actually just give it a, like, for each one of those that's fixed, it'll be 0.5. Until then, though, this is about a 9 out of 10. Because it has a lot of things that I like. In fact, it has some of the best secret bosses I've ever fought in, but the final boss falls off a little bit with how difficulty is, and the crashes just kind of weigh on it. But that is my review, guys. This is my first one, so give me your input, and thanks. See you guys later.